Let's make Claire Saffitz's sour cream and chive rolls. I think they're called dinner rolls in the States, maybe. But they use a technique, I'm not going to say it right, tangzong? Something like that. It's like a kind of roux, and I've always wanted to try it. I think it's used in Japanese milk bread and other types of things, but I've never done it before. So first up, it's flour and milk and some water into a pan. Please excuse the hard water scale on top of my filter jug. Horrendous. Mix it all together, properly whisk it until it's smooth, and then it goes over the heat until it's like mashed potatoes. I didn't know if this was right. I thought that looked maybe still a little gooey. But I thought I'd give it a go, see if it works. And, scraping some off the surface there. Always lovely. And then adding some sour cream, which is at room temperature. And then it's some sugar. And then salt. She uses kosher salt. I just used table salt, but I think about half the amount. And eggs. And then unsalted butter, I think. Did I use salted? And then some more bread flour. And then here I'm adding a bit more milk and also some instant yeast, because in the recipe she activates the yeast in the milk, but I use instant yeast, so it doesn't really need that. So that's going into the mixer, and then I'm greasing up the pan with hands and a pastry brush. So all the tools available, and she says to give it a really good coating. So I'm using a glass pan, which meant that I actually reduced the temperature in the oven, but she's got notes about that in her book, and also the link to the recipes down below. So that's the dough has kind of mixed. I did add a bit more flour while it's mixing, and she says you can do that if it's particularly sticky, because it was really, really sticky. You can still see that it is. I think I added about 2 tablespoons more flour, and then kind of not shaping it into a round because I didn't want to get it out of the bowl, but I kind of shaped it a little bit and covered it in cling film until it was double the size. And then gonna get it out onto the work surface as best as I can with these sticky doughs. You can see how lovely and sticky, a bit more flour, but kind of bouncy it is, which it's the best thing with these kind of enriched doughs. So I'm kind of shaping it into a round to begin off with. And then kind of trying to stretch and squidge and push it out into kind of rectangle, squarish shape. Throwing on the chives, some on the dough, most on the work surface, as always seems to be the case with me. And then rolling that up. And then kind of squidging, that's not a word, squidging, flattening out into like a long rectangle. Kind of trying to flatten it out a bit, ready to cut. Still see it's still a little bit sticky, so I am flouring as I go along, and it didn't have any negative effect on the kind of end result. Sometimes you add flour and then it gets really dense, but it seemed fine here. So I'm just kind of lightly scoring roughly what I thought it should be, and then cutting them up, a bit more flour, and then shaping them into a round little balls off screen, which is very helpful for you, but I'm sure you all know how to shape a dough into a round. So yeah, I'm using a glass pan, which was a bit smaller, so I had some dough left over, which is fine, so I cooked them up later. But just covering the glass pan and letting them rise again to the double. Do you see how lovely and pillowy and plump they are? And then I'm doing an egg glaze on top, and then this is me realizing I haven't poked them to see if they were bouncing back okay, and they were, so I just proceeded to poke most of them, and then a crack of black pepper on the top and some Maldon sea salt, and then they get baked for around half an hour. I did a slightly lower temperature because mine's a fan oven, so they came out great. And then there's more butter on top, which makes them very rich and delicious. And this is me trying to zoom in so you could see kind of how golden and lovely, but my camera just wasn't having any of it. And then trying to get them out of the pan in one piece. That's the problem with these high-sided pans. It's a bit nerve-wracking, but they came out absolutely fine. I mean, a bit of coaxing, but lovely and golden. They've had about half an hour to cool, so they're still warm. I'm gonna have a little bite. They're good. Nice and fluffy. And they've obviously got that sour cream chive flavour. They melt in the mouth, and they're they've got a hint of sweetness with the sugar. But yeah, they're delicious. I actually took these to a dinner party and they were a huge hit. Really good, really recommend them. And I think if I made them again, I might reduce the sugar a little bit, just because I found them maybe a bit on the sweet side. I prefer a more savoury roll, but yeah, I'd recommend it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.